President Buhari receives President-elect of Guinea-Bissau. In the wake of the killing of an Iranian military general, Inspector General of Police places the police on red alert nationwide to forestall any unforeseen reaction. Excessive exposure to the cold and dryness that comes with the current weather can increase the risk of illnesses. Join us for a discussion on coping with the health hazards of harmattan and the other lineups as we bring to you this Monday's edition of Panorama. I'm Ian Ray John. Welcome. President Muhammadu Buhari has enjoined the incoming government in Guinea-Bissau to not only ensure inclusivity but pursue genuine peace-building efforts towards uniting the country for sustainable growth and development. This was while granting audience to the president-elect of the troubled West African nation, Umaru Sissoco Embalo. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has details.
Popularly referred to as the General, the President-elect of Guinea-Bissau, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, a former army chief, served as Prime Minister of the country between 2016 and 2018. The 47-year-old opposition candidate got elected in a second round of voting to beat another ex-Prime Minister in an election described as free, fair, and credible by the United Nations and other election observers. He is here to say thank you to President Muhammadu Buhari for Nigeria's tremendous support and assistance towards stabilizing his country and ensuring the success of the electoral process. Mr. Embalo, accompanied to the State House by Guinea-Bissau's Minister of Foreign Affairs as well as that country's ambassador to Nigeria, solicited continued support to his incoming presidency, assuring President Buhari that he will not let the people down. What did the president tell you?
They give me good advice. You know, President Buhari is somebody who all of us we respect in Africa, and I keep his advice. Is why he's one of the first country I visit. We know President Buhari. We respect him a lot in Africa because he's a correct man, gentleman, and Pan-Africanist is why I'm here. I am his son. So don't forget President Buhari. I can't call him President Buhari. I already tell him, I'm going to still keep calling Baba.
The president told him that he has to be inclusive, basically, and has to pursue peace, that because without that, there will be no development for the country, and that the ultimate reason for becoming a head of state is to deliver development for your people.
The Republic of Guinea-Bissau, a country of less than 2 million people, has seen 9 coups or attempted coups since 1974. The incumbent president, Jose Mario Vaz, who crashed out of the election in the first round of voting, is the first head of state to carry out his term without being deposed.
The country has been in crisis for a long period of time. Mr. President has maintained a number of Nigerian troops there, and these Nigerian troops have maintained stability, and sometimes it looked as if it might tip over the edge, but they maintained it. And then Mr. President was engaged throughout the process. First of all, you had legislative elections, and it looked as if those wouldn't take place, but it did. Mr. President authorized a significant sums of money for all the electoral kit, because at one time they said they couldn't hold those elections because they didn't have the materials and so forth. Mr. President provided resources for them, and so they had to go forward with that. He really shepherded them through the legislative elections. He sent me and the president of the ECOWAS Commission to Guinea-Bissau on about 4 or 5 occasions, you know, to keep everybody calm, keep all the political parties calm, moving them forward, and they kept moving forward. And then right at the very end, at one stage, it looked as if these presidential elections wouldn't take place because the incumbent president fired the prime minister who was supposed to organize the elections, and again it looked as if things would not work out. But you know, Mr. President was very engaged, and this is the result, you know, peaceful elections at the end of the day.
The president-elect Umaru Embalo has formally invited the Nigerian leader to Bissau for his inauguration coming up on February 19, 2020. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And away from the State House now, one person has been confirmed dead, while 2 others sustained high degree of injuries as a result of the fire that gutted Akisan Market in Oyo Town, Oyo State. Larry Willey reports that the whole market was destroyed in the inferno.
Goods and properties worth billions of naira were destroyed during the fire outbreak, which was said to have started around 2 a.m. The cause of the incident could not be ascertained, but some eyewitness attributed its cause to power spark.
We called the people from the Ibadan. They sent us the firefighter, and they tried a lot. Fire is so much. It's so much for people to quench. So they had fracture of the leg, as well as fracture of the femur. A case of head injury is being currently stabilized at State Hospital.
The Alaafin for Yoruba Lamidi Adeyemi III described the disaster as unfortunate.
And totally everything has been lost. So we want to commiserate with the market men and women for the loss. It's irreparable. Only God can console them.
2 of the victims that sustained degrees of injuries have been referred to the University Teaching Hospital in Ibadan, while others are receiving treatment at the State Hospital in Oyo Town. Larry Willey, NTA News.
Sadly, just barely a few hours after tragedy struck the popular Akisan Market in Oyo Town, another furniture area and shops of not less than 100 traders in Iyagokun, Ibadan, was razed by midnight fire. Correspondent Femi Johnson has details.
24 hours ago, this place was a beehive of activities, as many do come here to purchase their furniture. Even some people were here not long before the fire incident to purchase furniture. However, the rest is now history. The place is completely burnt, as the midnight fire incident which occurred has completely rendered this place useless.
We have been here since 4:30. When we hear all these places are engulfed with fire, so we try to cool everywhere.
With me here is
Sisalani.
So how do you feel about this now?
It's too plenty. It's not okay at all. Not okay at all.
What will be the fate of 100 victims and over 400 million property that has been destroyed?
I was in my house this morning. I was called that fire burned everywhere. And this is my 2 shop. Everything has gone. I don't know even what happened.
One government to help us because we don't know what to do. Everything here, our machine.
People in your state, particularly residents, have been advised to be cautious of what they do this period of harmattan.
So maybe through the high tension of electricity, that should be another main cause, or burning of disused refuse. That is why the time of harmattan, you should not burn anything.
Government should please come to our aid. We have nobody to help us.
In Ibadan, Femi Johnson, NTA News.
On another tragic note, barely 24 hours after a gas explosion incident in Kaduna, another fire outbreak destroyed property worth millions of naira at a building housing offices and bank along Amadu Bello Way, Kaduna. Mijama Adamu tells us more.
The cause of the fire outbreak cannot be ascertained, but it was suspected to be an electrical fault.
You can see all these deep freezers where the fire started from. So those deep freezers were on. And then when the light came in, when the power came in, I think there was some internal sparking or something like that.
However, the quick response of the Kaduna State Fire Service helped in containing the inferno from escalating.
Well, we are yet to ascertain the cause of the fire, but as you can see, we are doing our best to make sure that we bring the fire under control.
No life was lost. The incident is coming barely 24 hours after a gas explosion in Kaduna metropolis. In Kaduna, Mijama Adamu, NTA News.
And from Kaduna, we move to Plateau State. As the harmattan cold intensifies, residents of Jos, including visitors, seem prepared for the weather, with temperature expected to come down to as low as 6 degrees. Sadatu Mohammed Kafar went around the city to see how people are coping with the cold.
Residents of Jos woke up this morning with an intense cold weather, which according to the Nigerian Meteorological Agency is at 9 degrees. As funny or crazy those dressings may be, it is all in a bid to shield themselves from cold.
The weather is very, very cold.
So there's nothing we can do. It is the time.
While residents of Jos are lamenting over the harsh weather, dealers, on the other hand, are taking the opportunity to make bricks business.
The people that are buying clothes, harmattan cloth, they are buying it more than the pasta season.
The cold weather associated to Plateau State perhaps is common among residents, but for those visiting for the first time, welcome to Jos. Saadat Muhammad Kafa, NTA News.
It would interest you to know that the weather has further dropped in Jos. Quite amazing. Now, joining us in the studio to discuss coping with health hazards of harmattan is Dr. Kingsley Osage, Chief Consultant, Pulmonologist, National Hospital, Abuja. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Happy
to be here.
So, I'd like to begin with this question. What are the common illnesses associated with the current weather, and what should people do to protect themselves?
Thank you very much. In this situation, particularly during harmattan season that occurs between November and end of February, a lot of diseases are associated with them. And if you look at from the head to downwards, from the eyes, you see a lot of people itching, having conjunctivitis, and then the nose, common cold, people having catarrh, sneezing, and all that. And of course, we progress down. Even the ears are not spared. This is the time you see people coming down with ear infections. And if you come down, you have what we call tracheitis and pneumonia. And for those people that are predisposed to bronchial asthma, this is the time you see that they will have a lot of cases of bronchial asthma coming up. And those that already have bronchial asthma having what we call exacerbation, that we call attacks. And these are the things that we will see. And of course, people come down with other diseases like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which will break down into chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and of course the new one, the asthma, COPD overlap. So all these things are there. And of course the skin, you see that the skin of individuals are dry because they are exposed to this very cold, dry, and dusty wind that comes. And of course, if you don't cover yourself up, then of course you'll be exposed to some of these dangers. So what do I advise at this particular point in time? Because all these illnesses are avoidable. If you don't really have any business going out, I advise you to stay indoors and keep yourself warm. Keep the environment clean and warm. And of course, for this is the time, particularly for some areas, like you mentioned, Jos, this is the time we think using the use of heaters. I'm not talking about those when you plug the heaters that used to heat the house and all that, because sometimes the water can become even frozen. And the water, instead of you open your tap, then nothing is coming out. And apart from that, good nutrition, very important.
Okay.
Because this time, the body starts. You need a lot of energy, so you need good nutrition to be able to combat this. And you need to be well hydrated. Drink fluid, water, any kind of fluid, so that you get hydrated for you to be prepared for it. And of course, you can also get vaccinated, because vaccines are available now for diseases that are common. Like you can see that pneumonia, even asthma exacerbation, chronic obstructive airway disease, and of course, even meningitis happen around this time too. Common amongst them is streptococcus pneumonia, and this you can vaccinate yourself against. If you take a pneumococcus vaccine, you at least, even if you get exposed to it, the effect is well reduced. And of course, you can also, there are other vaccines, influenza vaccines and all that we advise. Now, but of course, if you must go out, you have to wear warm clothes, cover yourself. And for some, you may have to cover your eyes, because if you dust enter your eyes, you come down with conjunctivitis.
Okay.
And of course, you can even use the mask But if you watch some screens
Nose
now, you
mask.
see people wearing nose masks
Okay.
to protect themselves from inhaling this stuff.
All right, you already talked about nutrition, but can you be more specific on the kind of food people should probably take this period that would protect them from these illnesses?
Well, what I emphasize is balanced diet. A lot of take carbohydrate, protein, and of course fat. But fat gives more energy, particularly at this. But so also maybe oil gives double the energy that carbohydrate will give. Okay, and of course you must support this with a lot of vegetables while you take fluids.
All right. So talking about children in particular now, because they're more susceptible to illnesses, how can they be cared for this period?
This time, children must be well looked after. They must be well looked after. I'll emphasize again. Keep them indoors. Keep them warm with warm clothing. And make sure for those that are still breastfeeding, give them adequate breastfeeding. And for those that have crossed that age, you must give them adequate fluids, good nutrition, and of course, like I said, vaccination against these diseases that we expect to happen around this time. I think if you do that, you might at least reduce the effect of this weather on the children.
Talking about vaccination, both the old and the young should get vaccinated?
In fact, there are vaccines now that you can give for all ages. You can give people above 65, you can give under 5s, you can even give for adults, so which is good news.
But what about babies? I think for babies, for example, I think the meningitis comes at 9 months thereabouts. So if you're not up to 9 months, what happens this period?
Because the reason why we delay because their immune system is not really well developed. So if you give vaccine, instead of you preventing, you may end up causing some more damage. That's why we wait. But of course, at that particular period of time, baby is sitting close to the mother can really protect the
baby. Okay. All right, thank you so much, Doctor. But just before we let you go, what would be your advice to the public in order to stay well this period?
Yes. Note that the weather can change at any time. And of course, you must be ready, get your environment ready, and get yourself prepared to meet the weather. You don't say, I forgot my jacket. And then, of course, before you know it, it may be too late. So you take your jacket if you must go out. Get your face mask prepared if you must go out. And of course, for those of us that are having diseases like asthma, chronic obstructive airway disease, you must take your drugs. And this is not the time you keep your drugs at home and you want to go dash to the market and come back, because you need your inhaler, because those are what we call reliever medication. If you don't have it at that time, before you get back home, it might be too late. So I advise that you keep your drugs with you. In fact, I even advise people to carry a bottle of water.
Okay.
Around. Because you can become dehydrated. The weather can be very dry and, of course, make you dehydrated. So when you have a bottle of water, you can quickly drink that and get well hydrated. That's some of the things I would want to suggest. And, of course, avoid these dusty areas and overcrowded areas.
All right, thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Dr. Kingsley Osage, the Chief Consultant Pulmonologist, National Hospital, Abuja. We'll be talking about coping with the harmattan and how to stay healthy. You're watching Panorama. Glad to have you back. Government policies and programs aimed at improving livestock production, especially cattle, have been identified as key to national development. Simon Asha reports that it is against this background that offering of free cattle vaccines to about 100,000 cattle in Adamawa State was inaugurated.
Livestock production, especially cattle, is one among many sources of food production, which over the years contributes to most of the meat consumed by the nation, aside from being a source of employment for many. The cattle, therefore, need to be taken care in terms of their well-being so as to ensure healthy meat is consumed by the citizenry. This, therefore, informed the free cattle vaccination exercise in Gaya local government area of Adamawa State with the aim of eliminating zoonotic disease that may endanger the lives of human beings once in contact or the consumption of an affected animal.
is something that over 30 years he vaccinated our Fulani cattle in his domain.
Abun zai taimakawa, zai kawo mana lafiya a canunmu da kuma Fulaninmu gaba ɗaya za su samu lafiya da zaman lafiya.
Member representing Mayo Balwa, Jada, Ganye, and Tongo Federal Constituency, Abdulrazak Namdas, and the Gangwari of Ganye, the paramount ruler of Ganye Chiefdom, Umar Adamu Sanda, among other dignitaries, say such program will not only increase animal health, but also enhance the well-being of the society.
With this step taken, we hope and pray that the cattle residing within this local government will have improved health and their production will improve, because a healthy animals is bound to be very productive.
In Yola, Simon Asher, NTA News.
The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has placed police commands and formations nationwide on red alert. This proactive measure follows intelligence report that sequel to the recent killing of an Iranian general, some domestic interests are planning to embark on massive public disturbances and sabotage. In a statement released by the Nigerian police, consequently, zonal AIGs and command commissioners of police have been directed to ensure maximum surveillance and security of lives and property across the nation. The police commanders have been directed to ensure strategic deployments of both overt and covert police operatives to ensure adequate security and safety of citizens. Foreigners, especially diplomats and diplomatic missions domiciled in Nigeria, as well as the protection of critical national assets. Meanwhile, the IGP has assured all Nigerians and foreigners resident in Nigeria of adequate security. He has equally warned all potential troublemakers to stay clear of the streets and territory of Nigeria. And now talking sports, Nigeria named as host of 2020 African Individual Chess Championship, and the countdown to the 2019 CAF Awards continues. Ayodeji Makinde